Hello and welcome to this Research Data Alliance TIGRUS US program on the Developing a US National PID Strategy. My name is Todd Carpenter. Joining me is John Chodacki. We are the co-chairs of the ORFG PID Strategies Working Group, and we're going to be talking about the outputs in a series over the next several recordings. This is part one on the US and international landscape and the benefits of adopting persistent identifiers. Persistent identifiers are a core element of the scholarly ecosystem. And for the last several years, the Research Data Alliance has been focused on improving the application of PIDs in a variety of contexts. In 2020, a Research Data Alliance working group was developed to create some consensus around national PID strategies, and it published a set of recommendations in 2023. Now, the US community was in some ways involved, but didn't put forward a case study in the US engagement when it comes to that RDA working group. But the US has been involved very actively in international research activities. And we do so in an extensive, impactful way. And that engagement necessitates consistent use, as well as in focus on interoperability of persistent identifiers in global research collaborations. The US has also participated in a variety of other international efforts that exist in our space, such as UNESCO's Open Science Toolkit, which highlights the global recognition and the need for robust persistent identifiers. So I'm going to turn it over to John to give us a little bit more detail.
Thank you, Todd. Yes, so part of our work as putting together a US National PID Strategy recommendation document and report as part of this ORFG and RDA-US collaboration was to sift through all the different ways that people appreciate and benefit from embracing persistent identifiers in their work. So as many of you are aware, there are a lot of benefits for using persistent identifiers. Central to those that are recorded in our report are things around reduction of administrative burden and cost savings. So really thinking about how to scale activities and create efficiencies in research lifecycle activities like publishing and data dissemination and data management, and efficiencies gains in the way that reporting helps research and science. But there's also benefits to persistent identifiers in the sense of how to assess research and research outputs, and really looking at the outcomes and evidence-based evaluation of research. And so wanting to make sure that in the report and in all of our discussions around how we can leverage persistent identifiers within the US and internationally, how we can leverage those in thinking not just about technology and systems and efficiencies, but also in the impact and the actual usage of the research that persistent identifiers are describing. And this also is included in areas and benefits around research integrity. So really trying to showcase that persistent identifiers enhance the transparency and accountability in research. They foster the trust that through the communities and community governance of persistent identifiers communities, and they benefit the scholarly community as much as the technology communities. And so within those larger groups, we made sure that we discussed within our report, and as we're thinking through these, the impact of these recommendations on the US community and beyond, that we are looking at the communities that are going to benefit from persistent embracing PIDs. So technical communities such as research infrastructure providers, but also those that fund research and are looking for accountability and decision-making around where to invest in research, as well as researchers themselves, and publishers, those that are helping with disseminating research and research outputs, and the institutions, those that are stewards of research and administering not only the research that is happening across the country, but also as custodians and stewards of the data and the research outputs that come out of research projects. And so while there is a lot of talk around how PID infrastructure providers can help on a technical perspective, providing efficiencies and providing ways of creating streamlined processes, we also wanted to make sure that the benefits of PIDs is explained in terms of how it actually helps with scholarly outputs.
So want to think about how some of these elements reflect for you in terms of your own institutions. Some questions for you to think about as you reflect on what you've learned during this brief introduction to the project. Think about how persistent identifiers are used in your own systems. How are they used in improving assessment at your own organization? And how might cross-institutional partnerships between your institution and other institutions in your community might be improved by including persistent identifiers in your work? And finally, think about how much time is wasted by teams at your institutions in terms of double keying information or in information management. These are all core issues that we hope you'll reflect on and how they apply within your own organizations as you consider the implications of a national PID strategy. For more information about this entire project, we've been as open as we can be with as we've developed this. There is, as John mentioned, the Zenodo link where you can get the actual report. There is a blog post on the Force 11 website focused on desirable characteristics of persistent identifiers. There is also a blog post on the Scholarly Kitchen website, as well as an ongoing community discussion related to the National PID strategy in this report. We're trying, as John said, to bring these recommendations out to the community and foster greater conversation. And the PID Forum is one area where we can continue this ongoing conversation. As we draw this session to a close, we want to acknowledge the work of the Research Data Alliance team through the Pervasive Technology Institute at Indiana University, as well as the TIGRUS facilitation program that's part of the RDA-US. We also want to acknowledge the support of the Open Research Funders Group, Helios Open, and Spark.